November 5th, 2024, 9:47 p.m., while CNN is still calling the presidential election too close to call. A website run by a 21-year-old kid in a Soho apartment has already declared Donald Trump the winner. Not a guess, not a prediction. A certainty backed by millions of dollars in real bets, and they were right. Hours before any major network called it. The website? Polymarket, the kid? Shane Copelan. 3 days later, 8 FBI agents would break down his door at 6 a.m. looking for evidence to destroy him. This is the story of how college dropout built a billion-dollar company, went to war with the U.S. government, and won. But it starts long before the FBI raid, long before the billion-dollar valuation, long before anyone knew his name. It starts with a bored teenager who couldn't sit still in class. Upper West Side, New York City. Mid-2010s. Shane Copelan sits in the back of his classroom at Beacon School, one of the most selective public high schools in Manhattan. He's smart. Everyone knows it. Both his parents are college professors. He aces tests without studying, but he can't focus. Not because he's lazy, because he's bored. His teachers notice. His grades start slipping despite his near-perfect ACT score. They put him in a special education program for students with learning disabilities. Shane doesn't care about the label. He's too busy daydreaming about something else entirely. Money. Because here's what nobody tells you about selective Manhattan high schools. Everyone around you is rich. Designer clothes, international vacations, parents with corner offices. And Shane? His family was comfortable, but not wealthy, not like his classmates. That gap, that feeling of being on the outside looking in, becomes his obsession. While his teachers droned on about polynomials, Shane was calculating something else. How do I get what they have? The answer, he decided, wasn't grades. It was entrepreneurship, so at 15 years old, Shane started hustling. And I mean really hustling. He traded tech decks, those little finger skateboards, with YouTubers for profit. He illegally downloaded music on BitTorrent and resold it. He joined the school stock market club and studied finance obsessively. And in 2014, when Ethereum first went on sale, he bought $150 worth. That $150? If he'd held it, it would be worth over $1 million today. But Shane didn't hold. Because $1 million wasn't the goal, $1 billion was. He was fascinated by people like Mark Zuckerberg and Travis Kalanick, founders who built empires before they turned 30. Shane wanted to be mentioned in the same breath, to prove he belonged in that world. But how does an anxious 16-year-old with no connections break into Silicon Valley? By refusing to take no for an answer. 2015. New York City has a hot startup. Genius. You know them. The Lyrics website. But they were also doing web annotations, letting users add context to any text online. Shane thought, this is my way in. He had encyclopedic knowledge of tech founders. He could contribute immediately. So he started cold emailing everyone at the company, founders, employees, interns. Got rejected. Repeatedly. Most people would have stopped. Shane showed up at their office in person. Imagine that. A 16-year-old kid walking into a Manhattan startup, uninvited, and pitching himself for free labor. It worked. The genius team was so impressed by his audacity and his knowledge that they gave him an internship. For the next year, Shane wrote hundreds of annotations about tech entrepreneurs. He became their in-house expert on Silicon Valley. And more importantly, he learned something crucial. If you act like you belong, eventually people believe you. His boss later said, if Shane becomes a tech entrepreneur, we'll be seeing his name in the press. That confidence, that unshakable belief that he could will his way into any room would define everything that came next. Fall 2016, Shane gets admitted to NYU as a computer science major. He drops out after one semester. Why? Because college felt like high school all over again. Sitting in lectures, bored watching other people become millionaires while he collected a degree. The timing was perfect. Crypto was exploding. Bitcoin was climbing. Ethereum was surging. And Shane had been in the space since 2014, so he dove in completely. Mining Litecoin. Trading meme coins like Dogecoin. Partying with crypto brothers in Patagonia vests. Within months, his portfolio hit hundreds of thousands of dollars. Easy money. But Shane had a problem. The more crypto projects he worked on, the more he realized most of them were scams. Shitcoins with no utility. Pump and dump schemes. Founders who knew their tokens were worthless but sold them anyway. It bothered him. Not for moral reasons, at least not entirely, but because he wanted to build something real. Something that could actually become a billion-dollar company. Not just a quick exit scam. So in 2019, he launched Union Market, a marketplace for yield-generating crypto assets. Finally, his first legitimate company. His shot at the big leagues. There was just one problem. He was running out of money. The crypto bull run had ended. His portfolio crashed. The tiny venture capital he'd raised wasn't enough. Shane did what any desperate founder would do. He sold everything. He literally created a Google Sheet listing every possession he owned and sold them to pay rent and keep Union Market alive. Air fryers, electronics, anything of value, gone. Most people would have quit. Most people would have gotten a job. Shane doubled down. Because during this frantic period, he read a paper that would change his life. The paper was by Robin Hanson, a George Mason University economist. Title: Shall we vote on values but bet on beliefs? The concept was brilliant. Instead of relying on experts to predict policy outcomes, use prediction markets. Let people bet real money on what they believe will happen. The collective intelligence of thousands of people with skin in the game would be more accurate than any single expert. It was economics meets democracy meets gambling. Shane was obsessed. He emailed Hansen, basically claiming he'd be the person to bring this vision to life, and then COVID hit. March 2020, the world shuts down. Shane locked himself in his bathroom, because why not, and built a website called Polymarket. The concept was simple but revolutionary. Ask a question about the future. Any question. Will Trump win the election? How many times will Elon tweet next week? Will Taylor Swift get engaged by New Year's? Users bet yes or no using crypto. The odds weren't set by the house, they were set by collective betting volume. If more people bet yes, the odds shift, making no more profitable. And vice versa. It was pure market mechanics applied to information. But Shane had a problem. He needed money. Lots of it, so he did what he'd learned at Genius. He acted like he belonged. He networked relentlessly. Treated potential investors like buddies, not gatekeepers. Showed up at parties. Got dinners. Fit in everywhere. Sometimes he took it too far, like introducing Orlando Bloom as a potential investor when Orlando had no idea what Polymarket even was. But it worked. Shane raised $4 million, hired a team, started growing fast, and completely forgot about one crucial detail: the law. Shane never consulted lawyers before launching Polymarket. His strategy? Beg for forgiveness, not permission. Bad idea. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, noticed. Prediction markets in the US are technically regulated as event contracts. Polymarket had never applied for approval. In late 2021, the hammer dropped. $1.4 million fine. Forced geo-block for users. Company had to move to Panama on paper. Shane lost a huge chunk of his user base overnight. Except, he didn't, because VPNs exist. Thousands of Americans simply changed their virtual location and kept betting like nothing happened. Great for users. Extremely dangerous for Shane. If the CFTC caught even one American using Polymarket, he'd be finished. And then 2024 happened. Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. The whole country watching. Polymarket made predictions that seemed insane at the time. Biden would drop out of the race. He did. Trump would win the popular vote. He did. Trump would sweep the swing states. He did. Polymarket called it all. Hours before mainstream media, the platform exploded. After the election, it became the #1 free news app on Apple's App Store. Elon Musk used it. Trump mentioned it. Goldman Sachs and Apollo started factoring Polymarket odds into their analysis. Shane's creation was being taken seriously. Some analysts predicted Polymarket would hit a $10 billion valuation within 2 years. By November 2024, the company was worth nearly $1 billion and owned 90% of the prediction market space. Shane had done it. The kid who couldn't pay attention in class, the anxious teenager trading tech decks, the college dropout mining Litecoin. He'd built a billion-dollar company at 21. And then, 3 days after correctly calling the election, the FBI broke down his door. November 8, 2024, 6 a.m. 8 FBI agents in black windbreakers bust through Shane's Soho apartment door with a battering ram. Shane and his girlfriend are in bed, asleep. The agents seize their phones. Don't even let them unlock them first. They spend hours tearing through the apartment, looking for evidence. Evidence of what? The Department of Justice wanted to prove Shane knowingly allowed Americans to use VPNs to access Polymarket. If they could prove that, he'd face criminal charges. The company would collapse. Hours later, traumatized and phoneless, Shane bought a new device and tweeted, "New phone, who dis?" Then he called out the Biden administration, claiming the raid was political retaliation for Polymarket, predicting Trump's win when polls said otherwise. 8 months of investigation followed. 8 months of uncertainty. And then on July 15, 2025, it ended. The DOJ and CFTC cleared him. No wrongdoing. Shane took to X. 8 months ago, we were on top of the world. 8 days later, the FBI broke down my door. Today, justice prevailed. But he wasn't done. 1 week later, Polymarket acquired QCX, a CFTC licensed derivatives exchange, for $112 million. The golden ticket. The license to operate legally in the United States. Shane was back. And this time, the government couldn't touch him. Shane Copeland's story isn't just about building a company. It's about refusing to accept the world as it is. He couldn't focus in school, so he built his own education. He wasn't wealthy, so he hustled until he was. He got rejected, so he showed up uninvited. The government came after him, so he fought back and won. At 26 years old, he's running a near billion-dollar company that correctly predicted one of the most consequential elections in American history. And he did it by betting on one thing: that collective intelligence beats expert opinion. That markets reveal truth better than polls. Polymarket still doesn't make money, they're figuring that out. But Shane proves something far more valuable. That information is worth betting on. That the future can be priced. That sometimes a kid with audacity and a bathroom laptop can see what billion-dollar institutions miss. The question isn't whether Shane will succeed. It's whether the world is ready for what he's building. This is the Capital Historian Studios. The next generation of founders isn't waiting for permission. They're building anyway. And sometimes they're right when everyone else is wrong.